My daughter was seriously ill, and I urgently needed a large sum of money for medical expenses. My husband, John Miller, gave up on her treatment without hesitation and became intensely involved with his childhood sweetheart, Ashley Green. In despair, my first love, David Wilson, transferred $5 million to my account and accompanied me in taking meticulous care of our daughter. But in the end, my daughter couldn't escape the clutches of death. 6 years later, David Wilson and I had a child of our own. While I was at City Hospital for a prenatal checkup alone, I overheard David Wilson talking to the doctor. "Mr. Wilson, you and Ms. Carter have a child now. What if what happened back then is discovered?" Back then, Ashley was seriously ill, and it was a last resort to use some means to transplant the child's heart to Ashley. Besides, Emily Carter is pregnant again now, she should let it go. Only then did I realize that my daughter had been deliberately misdiagnosed. David Wilson had secretly transplanted her heart to Ashley Green. Hearing this, tears streamed down my face silently. So, the child in my womb wasn't a crystallization of love between David Wilson and me, but a peace offering. These 6 years of relationship had all been David Wilson's acting, all for Ashley Green, the only love in his heart. I caressed my slightly protruding abdomen, a bitter smile tugging at the corner of my lips. 6 years ago, I couldn't save my daughter, and now I don't want to continue this ill-fated relationship. In the doctor's office at City Hospital, the doctor sighed softly, his tone tinged with regret. "Okay, Mr. Wilson, but is it worth it? Ashley Green is already married. You should live your own life. After all, Miss Carter loves you so much, she's a good woman." David Wilson paused on the other end of the line, then replied resolutely, "How could it not be worth it? I don't care about titles, as long as I can protect Ashley. She can love whoever she wants, I just want her to be healthy and happy. As for Emily Carter, she is indeed very good, a good wife, and would be a good mother, but unfortunately, I don't love her. Love can't be forced." Hearing David Wilson say this, the doctor shook his head and didn't ask any further questions. "Miss Carter's pregnancy isn't stable. She's a woman with a hard life. She's already lost one child. Please be kind to her and the child this time." There was a long silence on the other end before David Wilson gave a soft mm. I bit my lip hard, stubbornly making not a sound. It wasn't until David Wilson and the doctor left that I dared to cry out loud. It turned out that my daughter, who had only been born for a few days, didn't die from illness but was deliberately misdiagnosed by doctors bribed by David Wilson, all to replace Ashley Green with a fresh heart. Back then, when my daughter was diagnosed with a serious illness and admitted to the intensive care unit, ACU, my husband, John Miller, unwilling to bear the burden, shook off the hospital and threw himself into the arms of his childhood sweetheart, Ashley Green. David Wilson's appearance was the only light in our lives. Looking back now, David Wilson helped to better watch over this heart that belonged to Ashley Green. After divorcing John Miller, David Wilson married me, probably out of guilt. Outside City Hospital, it started to rain heavily. I didn't take a taxi, stumbling along like a drowned rat. Rain mingled with tears. I had long lost count of how many times I had cried. When I got home, the nanny, seeing my defeated appearance, quickly greeted me, "Madam, it's raining. Why didn't you call the driver to pick you up? You're pregnant, it's not good to get caught in the rain." Hearing the sound, David Wilson came out of the study. Seeing my red eyes and disheveled hair, a trace of pity flashed in his eyes. He put down the coffee in his hand and scooped me up in his arms. David Wilson's tone carried some blame. "You're going to be a mother soon. Why are you still so willful like a child? If you catch a cold, what about the baby in your belly? I don't know what to say to you." I glanced at him and muttered to myself, "David Wilson, I've been a mother before. I don't need you to teach me. A child is dead when they are dead. Anyway, I've already lost one child." David Wilson paused, his brows furrowed, but in the end, he didn't say anything. The bathtub was already filled with hot water. David Wilson wanted to help me undress, but I refused. David Wilson looked at me suspiciously, seemingly puzzled by my abnormality. After a long stalemate, David Wilson left the bathroom. I scrubbed my body with body wash again and again, trying to wash away all the traces David Wilson had left on me over the years. When I returned to the bedroom, David Wilson was already asleep. Looking at the man's profile, a man I had been with day and night, I felt exceptionally strange. In a dream, David Wilson grabbed my hand. "Don't go, stay with me forever. Ashley, my princess." David Wilson's face was full of infinite pampering and dependence, a look he had never shown me. The next second, David Wilson's phone lit up. It was a message from Ashley, my princess. I tried several times to unlock the phone, but I couldn't. My birthday, David Wilson's birthday, and even Ashley Green's birthday didn't work. As a last chance, I tried the date my daughter died. Unexpectedly, it worked. I almost forgot that on the day my daughter died, Ashley Green was given a new life with my daughter's heart. So, David Wilson had been silently loving Ashley Green in such a meticulous way. In the chat box, Ashley Green sent several photos. In the photos, Ashley Green's smile was even more dazzling than the warm sun in March. She leaned sweetly against David Wilson, who awkwardly made a heart shape with her. "David, going to the amusement park with you is so much more fun. John Miller is much more boring than you. I too. LDU, accompany me to take pictures tomorrow. Don't stand me up, love you." David Wilson and Ashley Green were like a couple in the throes of love, making me look like a clown spying on someone else's happiness. But tomorrow was the day David Wilson promised to accompany me to my prenatal checkup. So, which is more important, the child or the beloved woman? That night, I didn't sleep a wink. I was gambling. If David Wilson chose to accompany me to the prenatal checkup tomorrow, then, for the sake of this new life, I would give David Wilson another chance. The next morning, David Wilson got ready to leave early. David Wilson's face was radiant. Just as he was about to leave, I tugged at the corner of his shirt. "David Wilson, where are you going? Didn't you say you would accompany me to the prenatal checkup?" David Wilson's smile faded, and after thinking for a long time, he gently patted my hand. "Emily, I'm sorry, I have a very important meeting today. I won't be able to accompany you to City Hospital for a while. You're so understanding, you'll understand how hard your husband works, right? You said it yourself yesterday, you have experience giving birth, so you don't need me to accompany you to be successful." Seeing me lower my head and say nothing, David Wilson smiled and left a kiss on my forehead. "Be good, listen to me. I'll bring you a gift when I get back." With that, David Wilson left without looking back. Watching David Wilson's back as he quickly left, this time, I was completely heartbroken. I checked the nearest flights to New York City and called my best friend. "The flight is the day after tomorrow night. After landing in New York City, I will officially say goodbye to everything here." I put on some light makeup to make myself look less haggard. I went to the best law offices of Miller-Zoyes to inquire about divorce procedures and the matter of my daughter being misdiagnosed to death. Regarding the divorce, the lawyer quickly drafted the documents. But to hold David Wilson and Ashley Green accountable, more evidence was needed. That night, I made a candlelight dinner and opened 2 bottles of David Wilson's treasured red wine. David Wilson was taken aback when he came home and saw me sitting quietly at the dining table, then smiled knowingly. "Emily, just leave these things to the nanny. You're my wife, you just need to live a life of luxury." He smiled and put his arms around me. We were so close that I could even smell the delicate rose perfume that belonged exclusively to women on him. I asked David Wilson when he had changed to this flamboyant and vulgar perfume. David Wilson was a little guilty, lowered his head, sniffed his collar, and quickly explained, "Oh, the person I met at the meeting today was the female boss of Midtown Group, so it's normal to accidentally get some on me." "What's wrong, Emily? Are you suspecting me? Are you still blaming me for not accompanying you to the prenatal checkup?" "I've already explained it. I thought you could understand me. People with a guilty conscience are always quick to confess. I just asked one question, and what greeted me was overwhelming blame." Seeing me silent, David Wilson changed the subject and took out a delicate emerald necklace from his pocket and put it around my neck. Emily, don't be angry. This is a gift I brought you specially. There's only one in the world, unique. Do you like it? The emerald necklace shimmered with a dark green light in the candlelight, which was very beautiful. I stroked the icy and smooth necklace with my fingertips. After 6 years of marriage, David Wilson would send me jewelry every time we had a Cold War. But what if there were more gold and silver treasures? It still couldn't change the fact that he cheated, and it couldn't change the fact that my daughter had been murdered. Seeing that I finally smiled, David Wilson began to taste the food I made. David Wilson praised my cooking skills. But in the end, he only took a few bites. After all, those who have already eaten outside will naturally not be able to eat the delicacies at home. During the meal, I poured several glasses of wine for David Wilson, and he quickly fell asleep on the bed. While David Wilson was drunk, I secretly sneaked into his study, trying to find some evidence about my daughter being plotted to be killed. After searching through everything, I only found a document about organ transplantation from 6 years ago. In the document, David Wilson signed the organ transplant contract on my behalf as my spouse. No wonder David Wilson was so anxious to marry me back then. It turned out that it was just to allow his Ashley, my princess, to recover as soon as possible. After taking photos of the document, I returned it to its original place and packaged it into the email along with the divorce agreement, and set a countdown to send it. When the plane took off, these documents would be sent to David Wilson's email. The next day, I was awakened by David Wilson. He squeezed toothpaste for me like before, and even learned to cook in the kitchen in a decent manner. While brushing my teeth, he gently hugged my waist from behind. Emily, it's my fault. How could I let you go to such a big event like the prenatal checkup alone? How about your husband accompany you today? Before I could speak, David Wilson rubbed my head and smiled shyly. Looking at David Wilson's busy figure in the kitchen, my heart felt a twinge of sadness. David Wilson, you are always good and bad. It's been 6 years, and I'm only realizing that I seem to have never seen you. That's all. I don't love you anymore, and I don't need to understand you in the future. When David Wilson and I arrived at City Hospital, Ashley Green was also there. But Ashley Green was there to see a dermatologist. As a popular female star, wherever Ashley Green went, she was surrounded by fans. From a distance, I could hear the fans discussio. "N.S. Ashley, my princess is so pitiful. She just recovered from a serious illness 2 years ago, and now she's here at City Hospital again. Don't worry, Ashley, my princess will be fine. This is the best city hospital in the law offices of Millerzoys. Moreover, the actual controlling shareholder of this city hospital is David Wilson. He is Ashley, my princess's rumored boyfriend, the top donor, and will use all his power to protect Ashley, my princess." Wow, a popular female star and a president, it sounds like a match made in heaven. The next second, Ashley Green spotted David Wilson's figure in the crowd. She shouted David Wilson's name. The fans all looked at David Wilson and me. Ashley Green trotted over to David Wilson and intimately hooked his arm. "David, it's all your fault for insisting on taking me to eat king crab yesterday, which made me allergic, so are you here today to accompany me specially? Then I'll reluctantly forgive you." David Wilson looked at me, then looked at Ashley Green, and finally smiled and nodded to Ashley Green. The surrounding fans all had a look of "I ship them" on their faces. I knew that David Wilson was going to abandon me again this time. I stared at David Wilson's face, word by word, and said, "David Wilson, didn't you say you were going to accompany me to the prenatal checkup?" The passers-by had another surprised expression of eating a melon. A trace of emotion flashed in David Wilson's eyes, and just as he was about to walk towards me, he was pulled back by Ashley Green. Ashley Green's eyes no longer had the well-behaved look just now, but were fierce and smug. "David, isn't she just your family's nanny? It's enough that you sent her to City Hospital. There's no need to accompany her to the prenatal checkup. If this gets out, everyone will think the child is yours, which will damage your own and the company's image." Hearing Ashley Green's words, the passers-by suddenly realized and looked at me with endless contempt. David Wilson's lips moved, but in the end, he didn't defend me at all, but let Ashley Green take him away, leaving me alone in a daze. Before long, a video of our encounter was taken by fans and uploaded online, and it quickly became a trending topic. Netizens' comments hit the nail on the head. It seems that Mr. Wilson is not only rich but also so kind, so affectionate and righteous, and so attentive to the nanny. I knew it. How could Mr. Wilson be interested in this kind of woman? It's ridiculous that you see this old woman imitating Ashley, my princess, and wearing an emerald necklace. That emerald necklace is a new product from our company. There is only one in the world, and Mr. Wilson told me to personally send it to Ashley Green's home. Mr. Wilson is so romantic. The gifts he gives are unique. Ashley, my princess, is so happy. I closed the comment section, lay on the operating table, staring at the ceiling above my head, feeling dizzy. The doctor repeatedly confirmed to me, "Miss Carter, are you sure you don't want this child?" I closed my eyes and nodded firmly. I was given enough anesthesia, but I still felt pain, a piercing pain. Tears that had been held back for a long time burst out at this moment. After the surgery, I told the doctor to keep the dead fetus for me and hand it over to David Wilson after I left. When I left the doors of City Hospital, I got into a taxi to the airport. I turned on my phone, and my best friend forwarded a live broadcast to me. It was David Wilson accompanying Ashley Green to an awards ceremony as a family member. Ashley Green on stage was wearing a strapless evening dress, while David Wilson was wearing a suit of the same color. When Ashley Green was speaking on stage, the director kept the camera focused on David Wilson, who looked at Ashley Green with a proud expression. His eyes were fiery, with indescribable admiration and love. The host started booing and asked Ashley Green to describe her relationship with David Wilson in 2 words. Ashley Green smiled shyly and turned her face to look at David Wilson. Inseparable, forever. I suddenly laughed. These 8 words were the promise that David Wilson made to me personally when we got married. I closed the live broadcast and didn't want to have anything to do with them anymore. The plane was about to take off. In the minute before I turned off my phone, messages from David Wilson came one after another. "Don't take Ashley, my princess's, words to heart. She's a naive little girl and didn't mean to say that. Are you still at City Hospital? Wait for me to finish this meeting and I'll pick you up personally, okay? Emily, don't sulk, it's not good for your health, and it's not good for our child." Seeing that I didn't reply, David Wilson even made several calls. I ignored those messages and turned off my phone. Even now, David Wilson was still coaxing me. He was accompanying Ashley Green to the ceremony, not attending a meeting. David Wilson was still waiting for Ashley Green to finish backstage at the ceremony. In his free time, he remembered his pregnant wife. But whether he sent a message or made a call, David Wilson couldn't get in touch with anyone. Until the assistant sent a message. "Mr. Wilson, the madam is gone. She sent a divorce agreement and the organ transplant document from 6 years ago." Hearing this news, David Wilson staggered and almost fell to the ground. He felt incredible. Over the years, no matter how much the two of them quarreled, it had never reached the point of leaving. The assistant quickly printed out the documents and sent them to David Wilson. David Wilson read the divorce agreement word by word, and it wasn't until he saw the words Emily Carter at the end that he believed that I wasn't kidding him. David Wilson sat there blankly, looking lost. It was the first time the assistant had seen David Wilson so helpless. After a long time, David Wilson slowly opened his mouth. "Why did Emily Carter leave me? Am I not good enough for her? I gave her a home, gave her so much money, and even gave her another child. Why is she still not satisfied?" Looking at David Wilson's distressed look, the assistant couldn't help but tell the truth. "Mr. Wilson, you gave the madam a home, but you didn't give her love. You gave all your love to Ashley Green. As for those jewelry and accessories, weren't they all given to the madam after Ashley Green was done choosing? Even the madam's first child died for Ashley Green. Only then did David Wilson remember the child. He picked up the organ transplant document on the table, turned to the end, and saw his name. 6 years ago, in order to save Ashley Green, David Wilson deliberately designed a misdiagnosis. He had also thought about the day when the incident would be exposed, so he chose to get married, hoping to use love to smooth out the pain I had suffered from losing my child. The ceremony ended, and Ashley Green also came backstage. When she learned from David Wilson that I had left, Ashley Green's mouth curled into a smug smile, which she quickly suppressed. She sat on David Wilson's lap on her own and hooked her neck. Emily Carter has only been Mrs. Wilson for a few years, and she thinks of herself as something special. She's playing the trick of running away from home, making David worry, which is outrageous. But then again, Emily Carter didn't mean to do it. She just loves you too much. Seeing you treating me so well, she's jealous and deliberately trying to attract your attention. David, don't worry about her. What could happen to an adult? You just need to think about which underwear I should wear tonight. After saying that, Ashley Green pouted her delicate lips, wanting to kiss David Wilson as if no one else was around. David Wilson felt that Ashley Green's words made sense, so he temporarily put my departure behind him. He followed Ashley Green's lips and kissed her. On the side, Ashley G. Green's assistant tactfully handed over the room card for the room that had already been booked upstairs. Ashley Green drugged David Wilson's wine, and that night, David Wilson and Ashley Green crossed that line. It wasn't until the middle of the night that David Wilson felt a little dizzy and subconsciously wanted to stroke the beautiful, long hair of the person next to him, but he missed and suddenly realized that the woman curled up in his arms was Ashley Green. David Wilson recalled the madness of the first half of the night and only felt regret, because he had treated the woman under him as me the whole time. Looking at the sleeping Ashley Green, David Wilson didn't feel sleepy at all. He got up and went to the balcony, lit a cigarette, and looked through the chat history with me. From the first time we met until now, everything has been flashing in David Wilson's mind. David Wilson was very busy at work and always came home late. And I would always make dinner and sit patiently at the table waiting for him. Several times, I even fell asleep on the table. David Wilson thought of that small figure under the bright lights, which was now pitch black. At this moment, David Wilson had to admit that he seemed to have gotten used to having me in his life, gotten used to the smell of me in this home, and gotten used to being able to reach out and touch me. He also vaguely realized that the most important thing in his life seemed to be moving away from him. In the end, David Wilson wrote a 1,000-word essay for the first time and sent it, but the phone screen only showed a big red exclamation mark. In order to completely break with the past, I blocked and deleted David Wilson as soon as I arrived in New York City, and even changed to a new phone card. My best friend had already prepared everything for me. I was temporarily staying at her house and was busy looking for a job to start a new life. Seeing that I had blocked and deleted him, David Wilson completely panicked. For the first time in 6 years, I had taken the initiative to cut off all contact with David Wilson. David Wilson's fingers trembled slightly. He put out the cigarette and called his assistant. "Tell me, did Emily find out about what happened back then?" The assistant on the other end of the phone didn't dare to say a word. David Wilson lit another cigarette, and the wind messed up the hair on his forehead. Looking at the divorce agreement next to him, David Wilson sighed and instructed the assistant, "Get all the surveillance footage from City Hospital. Also, use all your connections to find Emily Carter's current whereabouts." As soon as he finished speaking, David Wilson added, "It's not that I can't live without her. It's just that I'm not allowed to be the first to file for divorce. If anyone's going to do it, it'll be me." After hanging up the phone, David Wilson breathed a sigh of relief. He stared blankly at the scarlet cigarette butt. Only he knew whether he was bluffing or if his love had become a habit. The next day, Ashley Green woke up early. She sat on the head of the bed, crossed her legs, and looked at the divorce agreement, feeling great. Seeing David Wilson wake up, Ashley Greene blinked her starry eyes and left a kiss on his thin lips. Great, that old woman Emily Carter has finally left. David, you're also very happy, right? There's finally no obstacle between us. Seeing David Wilson silent, Ashley Greene was a little unhappy and muttered in a small voice, complaining, David Wilson, you've changed. As expected, men don't cherish what they get. Hearing Ashley Greene slander me, David Wilson no longer echoed her like before, but immediately began to defend me. Ashley, my princess, you can't think of Emily like that. She's not that kind of person. I've lived with her for 6 years, I know what kind of person she is. Seeing David Wilson defend me and sing a different tune from her, Ashley Greene's face turned pale, and her voice became tearful. David Wilson, you've changed. As expected, men don't cherish what they get. Facing Ashley Greene's coquettishness and tears, David Wilson gave in and coaxed her with kind words. After finishing breakfast, Ashley Greene pulled David Wilson to do makeup. David, today's press conference still needs you to support me. David Wilson touched Ashley Greene's head and followed her instructions. But his eyes never left his phone, afraid that he would miss the message from his assistant. The press conference began. Just before going on stage, David Wilson received a message from his assistant. Mr. Wilson, I have already found out that the madam seems to have found out the truth about what happened 6 years ago. A few days ago, she also went to the morgue at City Hospital to find the child's body. At the same time, she also consulted the law offices of Miller Zoys about the divorce and the child being misdiagnosed to death. Moreover, the madam also had an abortion at City Hospital. Seeing the last message, David Wilson's fingers trembled, and he almost couldn't hold his phone. Immediately, the assistant sent a surveillance video. In the video, I had just come out of the obstetrics and gynecology department, my face was pale, and I was clutching my stomach, looking like I was about to fall. David Wilson looked at the video, and suddenly his eyes soured. He reached out and wanted to touch the woman's small face on the screen, but in the end, it was just nothingness. The next second, Ashley Greene came to David Wilson's side. She tugged at the corner of David Wilson's clothes and shook them slightly. David, don't be stunned, it's time to go on stage. David Wilson was already confused and let Ashley Greene drag him onto the stage. On stage, the host asked about the rumors between David Wilson and Ashley Greene. Ashley Greene answered all the questions asked by the host with a sweet and shy face. When it was David Wilson's turn to ask, the host directly asked about the trending searches from a few days ago for traffic. That time, David Wilson, and Ashley Greene met at City Hospital. When he heard the host call me a nanny, David Wilson's emotions finally fluctuated. His handsome brows furrowed together, and he explained seriously to the camera, she's not a nanny, she's my wife. There was an uproar in the audience, and everyone looked at each other. And Ashley Greene was even more angered by David Wilson's words until her face turned pale. The program was temporarily interrupted, but because it was a live broadcast, some clips still leaked out. David Wilson's words also quickly became a trending topic. Netizens were very resourceful and quickly sorted out the relationship between the four of us based on various clues. Public opinion had undergone earth-shattering changes, and netizens began to sympathize with me unilaterally. I said, this Ms. Carter and Mr. Wilson seem to have an unusual relationship. This Ashley Greene looks harmless on the surface, but is a scheming green tea girl. It's really hard to cry when you take the perspective of Emily Carter. She's so strong. Although these days in New York City have been busy, they have also been fulfilling. In this vast city, I don't need to be anyone's wife, anyone's clinging vine. I can live well on my own, though occasionally, in the dead of night, I wake up feeling like the first half of my life was a lifetime ago. The sun is lovely today. My bestie and I are strolling beneath the magnificent city walls. My bestie was gesticulating wildly with her phone, telling me about the trending topics online. Emily Carter, you've finally been vindicated. The internet is full of people feeling sorry for you, calling you a resilient innocent. David Wilson seems different somehow. Do you think he's falling in love with you? Oh, and by the way, David Wilson added me on WeChat the other day, asking how you were. Should I tell him the truth? Hearing this, I paused, a ripple of emotion passing through me. But I quickly regained my composure and simply shook my head at my friend. What does love matter, or not love? Now that I've left the Wilson family, I don't want to be entangled with the past anymore. The scenery of New York City is infinitely beautiful, and I've found a tranquility I never had before. I remember when we first got married, I pestered David Wilson to come to New York City with me for our honeymoon. But David Wilson always said he didn't like crowds and wasn't interested in popular tourist attractions. It wasn't until later that I saw photos of him and Ashley Green in New York City on Ashley Green's social media. Ashley Green captioned it, "Thank you for holding my hand and showing me all these sights." I looked up, squinting into the distance. If I can overcome walking through majestic passes, then surely I can overcome those dark days of being deceived. David Wilson realized it was raining outside as soon as he left the studio. Looking at the downpour, David Wilson suddenly remembered the time I went for a prenatal checkup alone and got caught in the rain. This time, David Wilson walked straight into the rain without hesitation. His assistant rushed to hold an umbrella over him, but David Wilson threw it aside, letting the icy rain beat down on his face. Maybe it was because the rain was too cold, but David Wilson's voice had a faint, almost imperceptible sob. So this is how bitter and painful it is to be caught in the rain. Emily Carter, it's my fault. I didn't take care of your feelings in time, and I didn't empathize with you. David Wilson stumbled along for a full 10 kilometers, not arriving home until late in the evening. The cold seeped into his bones, and David Wilson sneezed. Seeing this, the housekeeper quickly made David Wilson a hot ginger soup. David Wilson took a sip and found it spicy, and the taste was very different from what he was used to. He was about to scold housekeeper. The housekeeper hurriedly explained, "Young master, the ginger soup and hangover soup used to be made by the madam herself. Now that she's gone, please just make do with what I have." Perhaps stung by the ginger chunks, David Wilson's eyes turned red, and he slammed the bowl to the ground. "What do you mean, the madam is gone? She'll be back soon. She can't possibly abandon me. The soup you make is unpalatable. Only Emily Carter makes it the way I like it." Just then, the doorbell rang. David Wilson thought that I couldn't stand the hardships outside and had come home. He straightened his appearance in the mirror and rushed to the door in a few steps. But when he opened the door, David Wilson didn't see the woman he was longing for. It was a same-day delivery. The sender was Emily Carter, and the recipient was David Wilson. David Wilson was overjoyed, signed for the package with a smile, and casually gave the delivery guy an extra $500 tip. David Wilson's face was radiant again. "Emily Carter, you can't let me go after all. You're sending me something as a way to give me a chance, right?" David Wilson muttered to himself as he violently tore open the package. But the moment the package was opened, David Wilson was completely dumbfounded. It was an urn. When David Wilson opened the box, he saw the bright red fetus. The tiny fetus was already vaguely human, but it had long lost its vital signs. The blood and mucus all around it had congealed, emitting a foul odor. David Wilson immediately understood. This was the child I had aborted. The crystallization of David Wilson and my love had turned into a pile of rotten flesh. The day I found out I was pregnant, David Wilson's face was full of smiles, like a general who had won a victory. His large hands stroked my belly back and forth. Then he gently put his ear close, seeming both surprised and curious about the arrival of this little life. Finally, David Wilson gently took me into his arms. "Emily Carter, you're pregnant again this time, and it's our child. Don't worry, I'll take good care of him." "Emily Carter, what should we name him? Do you think he'll look more like you or me?" David Wilson asked several questions in a row, and I couldn't answer him. I just smiled and kissed his warm lips. If only time could have stopped at that moment. Without love, there would be no hate. Without that happiness, how could the pain come so fiercely? David Wilson carefully held that mass of bright red in his arms. This time, he put down all his self-esteem and pride, knelt on the ground, and cried out loud, "Emily Carter, you're so cruel. You said you didn't want us, father and son, and you didn't. Emily Carter, come back. I can't live without you. Emily Carter, I was wrong, and I understand now that the person I love is you, and it's always been you." David Wilson knew that he had been completely wrong from the beginning, but he thought he still had a chance to salvage things. The night after, David Wilson's hair turned white overnight, and he decided to put aside everything he was doing and go to New York City to find me. Before leaving, David Wilson went to Ashley Greene's house. He wanted to leave Ashley Greene a letter with his apology and farewell. David Wilson knew the password to Ashley Greene's front door, so he went straight in. As soon as he entered, he heard Ashley Greene complaining to her bestie. This was the first time in Ashley Greene's acting career that she had been exposed to such negative press, and it was from the David Wilson she loved most. Ashley Greene was naturally angry. "Actually, I wasn't sick at all 6 years ago. I deliberately lied to David Wilson. At that time, I was too in love with John Miller. Only if that child were gone would there be a chance for John Miller and Emily Carter to get divorced. I didn't expect David Wilson to be so stupid. He believed everything I said. Serves him right that his wife and children are scattered." And that day, David Wilson embarrassed me in public, making me lose face so badly. I'm going to make him fall in love with me again and then dump him hard. Hearing Ashley Greene's words, David Wilson felt like a bolt of lightning had struck him. The letter in his hand was crumpled into a ball. It turned out that everything was just a charade orchestrated by Ashley Greene. David Wilson finally realized that he had been a fool for so many years, even personally hurting a woman who loved him so much, time and time again. David Wilson staggered out of Ashley Greene's house. Just then, his assistant found my current whereabouts. The next day, David Wilson found me. He had shaved his long unshaven beard and wasn't wearing a suit but the gray casual suit he wore when we first met. It was rush hour, and the streets were crowded with people. David Wilson stood there, straight as an arrow, holding a bouquet of delicate, pale pink roses. I remember once, when David Wilson and I were cuddling on the bed watching TV, there was a similar scene. The male protagonist knelt on one knee in the crowd, holding roses, and publicly professed his love to the female protagonist. Whenever that happened, I would be filled with envy, while David Wilson would look disdainful. Now, the moment David Wilson saw me in the crowd, he knelt on one knee like the male protagonist. I was stunned for a moment, and tears almost burst their banks. Why did David Wilson have to come and disturb my life? I was almost forgetting him. I thought I had completely turned the page on this, but why did my heart still ache again when I saw David Wilson again? Seeing that I was about to turn around and leave, David Wilson quickly chased after me. He grabbed my wrist without allowing any argument and pulled me into a tight embrace. He was very strong, and I couldn't break free, so I could only let him hold me. David Wilson was crying, and I could feel the hot tears falling on my shoulder. After a long time, David Wilson said, in a trembling voice, "Emily Carter, I was so stupid. I didn't realize until now that I loved you, but it's too late. I know we can't go back. Emily Carter, believe me, I love you, and you are the only wife I'll ever have." After saying that, David Wilson left, leaving me with only a resolute back view. His appearance was like a gust of wind, coming quickly and leaving violently. Against my better judgment, I took the roses home. The person was wrong, but such beautiful flowers were innocent after all. The next day was the weekend, and my bestie and I were busy cooking at home. I looked up and saw a live news report on TV. A heinous murder had occurred yesterday. Popular actress found dead at home, her heart ripped out. The perpetrator is her former lover, the CEO of a major corporation. Then, the TV screen showed a face that was familiar yet strange to me. It was David Wilson. He had killed Ashley Greene and ripped out her heart. I covered my mouth in shock and took 2 steps back, accidentally knocking over the roses on the table. Instantly, rose petals scattered all over the floor. A letter fell from among the flowers. I picked it up, opened the envelope, and it was filled with David Wilson's handwriting. The letter described the ins and outs of the matter, his regret and foolishness, and even more so, it was full of his love.